Thank you, and thank you, Ronald. I can imagine the feeling. The Navigators. Kathy and I have been involved in the men's ministry. Before I got married to Catherine, I was involved in the men's ministry. And when we got married, God brought her on board. And this has been ongoing alongside our church discipleship work. But amazingly, as we reached out to the men and the groups kept forming, it actually turned out that it was not only in church. The men were coming from different backgrounds and contexts. But one thing that has kept coming out and has helped us and given mileage to this, as we do this as a team, it's not only Kathy and I, but there are even other men that God has brought on board to be a team. We actually have increasingly realized that for the men's ministry to work, or the men's ministry to be relevant, it must be practical. What do I mean by being practical? You must talk about the issues men face. Regardless of who you are, regardless of your status or title, as long as you are a man, the issues that we face are the same. And I must testify that that approach and that lesson that has kept coming has really given us direction. When we came from Rwanda, one of the highlights for the conference was the session on being men and women of bold faith. God challenging us to believe Him for bigger things, but also going into territories that we had never imagined we would be. And one of the things I took before God in prayer was taking the men's ministry to the military. There was a gentleman who came one time in Nengo and found Levi and I. He had come to buy books. He had come to buy the breed books. And so Levi gets a conversation with him and says, "Do you know about every man warrior?" And the man says, "No, I don't. But I would really be glad to know." And then Levi takes him through briefly, but also gives him the 3 books. Book 1 that talks about God, book 2 that talks about marriage and parenting, and then book 3 that talks about money, work, sex and moral purity, going through hard times, making your life count. So I really kept hopeful that the man would call me, because Levi says, in case you really take interest, get back to us and take this man's number. So Levi gave him my number. And I really kept praying, God, I wish we could have access into the military. One of the things that I knew about the military and the security organs is that theology is not part of their training. They don't allow it. They can train them in all sorts of things, but theology is not allowed. So this man coming to office and saying, "I love this, it looks a good one. Let me go and think about it." So it left me praying and asking God, can we reach this context, this people group? So to my surprise this year, when we came out of Rwanda, one of the things that was in my heart and I was praying for God to give us access to security organs, and especially the military, UPDF. And I'm here to testify that God has answered that. A few weeks ago, we traveled to Kasanaruwero. I had a team coming from the US, and we went to conduct some trainings. But little did I know that that was the opportunity. So we went and met a big crowd of pastors. And in the midst of that crowd were some army captains. So they listened in and liked what we were training and what we were talking about. Like I said, we were talking about life. So they picked interest, and then a week later, I am invited to speak to army chaplains. These are chaplains that had come from different parts of Africa, because the army institutions have chaplains. The much as they don't train theology and all that, but they have that belief that there is a God. So we need to have chaplains to guide us in that regard. So I was invited in Bombo to conduct a training. There were around 45 chaplains from different countries. Where I did the training, helping them to understand why men's ministry and why it works and why it is important to them as men. And we had a good day. So a few days later, I received a call from a gentleman called Paul. He said, Moses, we would like to begin every man a warrior, and we are going to begin in 2 groups in Bombo Barrack. So we are going to invite you, and you come to help us get started. The process is ongoing. The groups have formed. We are in touch, and how grateful and glad I am that God is giving us access to that. Because they are part of the nations that we think of raising disciples and making disciples in all nations. They are part of what God is up to. So it's really something that a prayer answered, and we are grateful. So please pray with us that there will not be 2 groups. But also what we are thinking is, can these 2 groups be the pioneer groups, but also the leaders? If we get it right and well, we believe more groups forming within the military, these will be the leaders. Because it's not easy for you to come from outside and lead groups, but they can lead themselves. So we pray that these pioneer groups will really turn out well and be leaders to reach out to the rest of the army guys.